And then at the beginning of this age, because the Vedas describe that the universe moves in a cycle of 4 different ages, and gradually the people become more and more degraded, and by the influence of time, and so at the start of this age, which is the last of the 4 ages, then it was seen that there would be some need to make some record of this knowledge, because people just didn't have the same capacity. Like previously, you could just tell someone something and they would remember it. Whole bodies, whole texts. That was just normal. But at the beginning of this age, it was seen, people's lifespans were decreasing, their intellectual capacity was decreasing, and so it was seen there's some necessity to put to collect all this knowledge in an organized way and put it into writing. So, history will record that the Vedic knowledge, it's like 5,000 years old, but that's actually just when it was put into writing. We understand that it was at the beginning of creation, whenever that was, I can't say. And it was just, it was continuing in an oral way. So it was just 5,000 years ago that it was seen, we need to record this. And so there was this particular sage, Krishna Dvaipayan Veda Vyas, who did that work to collect all of this different strands of knowledge, to organize it and present it under different headings. And so he did that, and so we have this vast body of knowledge which contains many different lines of thought and many different and pertaining to different aspects of life, both on the material side and on the spiritual side. So there's the Paravidya side of things, which is dealing with the material side of things. So like the Ayurveda scripture, it goes in there. Dance, drama, all of these things, they're in the Vedic literature. Farming, politics, like there's nothing you won't find there actually. So that's on one side of things. And then on the other side, there's the Apara Vidya is also presented, knowledge pertaining to spiritual progress. So, and in terms of the spiritual side of things, there's 3 main lines of thought. There's the line of karma, indicating engaging in spiritual practices, but mixed with worldly desires. So not, because the idea is that everyone is coming to pick this up, to pick up the thread of spiritual life at a different level of capacity, different level of understanding, different level of earnestness. And not everybody's ready to, dive in and give it their all. And if you try to impose too much on someone, then they'll just completely reject it. So there's a very broad system that you find in the Vedas. Many, we could think of it as like a school. There's knowledge pertaining to class 1, knowledge pertaining to class 2, and so on and so forth, all under that same heading of the Veda. So there's, for those persons who aren't ready to really go deep and really understand that I'm actually a spiritual being, why should I waste my time pursuing what this world has to offer. For that section, those people who they identify so much with their existence within this world, then it's kind of like a sugar-coated pill, that's given to them. That actually, you should follow spiritual life because it's going to help you in this world. So that's a section which is often referred to as the Karma Kanda section. One of our gurus, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he made this very nice analysis that we can see that all action in this world is performed on the basis of 4 principal types of motivation, and the most base one, he said, is fear. That you'll do something. Let's say you'll do something good. If we're talking in the context of spiritual culture, you'll do something good because you're afraid that if you don't, you'll get in trouble. So like, you're gonna go to hell if you don't worship Jesus. Like this class of people. You have that class in the Vedic traditions as well. There's that type of presentation is also there. The karma stick. If you do bad, you're gonna get bad karma. So you better do good karma. If you don't try to live in harmony with the environment, to give offerings to the gods and so on and so forth, then you'll have to deal with the consequences of this type of sin and things like that. So on the lowest level, persons are motivated by fear. It's a very low class of person. That you don't appreciate the value of something. You're just doing it because you're afraid of, if you don't, you're gonna get in trouble. Like if you're dealing with a child, if I do that, my mom's gonna hit me. They're not ready yet to understand the value of virtue for the sake of virtue. That's like way above them. So that's the most base level, and then the next is gain, prospect. So having the knowledge that if I do this, my mom will give me a cookie. So this is like the karma kanda section. You perform this sacrifice, this ritual, you chant this mantra, you worship this deva, this god, and you can expect to reap the benefits of that. Both in this life and in the next life. We can act in such a way, do these things to ensure that we're healthy, wealthy, and wise in this present existence, and when we die, we'll go to heaven. We'll go to Swarga Loka, and we can enjoy in a more expansive way there. So that's another line of approach which is found within the Vedas. And then the next is the concept of duty. And also I can add in that category of gain, there's actually like 2 sides to it. There's the line of karma, engaging in pious activity to ensure results within this world or results within the world of enjoyment. But then there's also, on the other side of the coin, there's the spirit of renunciation, based on the idea that I want liberation, that I want moksha. So the ideal of moksha is also rejected by those who are in the line of bhakti. The pure, the top, let's say the top, most exclusive practitioners of bhakti, even the attainment of moksha is rejected, because there's some consideration of self-interest there. That I see that this is a temporary world, it's a world of suffering, I don't want to be here, I don't belong here, I want to get out of here, I want to be free from my mind, I want to be free from my senses, I want moksha. No. Of course, that's not necessarily a bad thing, that to realize that this is a temporary world and we don't belong here, that's a good thing. But for someone who appreciates the ideal of bhakti, that may be like one step on the path. That may be something that eventually drives one to bhakti, as the conclusion. So then the next motivation Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes is duty. To simply, do good for the sake of duty. This is the right thing to do. I may not get, personal pleasure out of it, but this is what I'm supposed to do. This is really what the you're familiar with the Varnashram system of India, the social religious system of India. Yeah. It has a bad reputation, we can say, because it's become so corrupt. And I don't even know if it was ever really properly followed in Vedic India, I'm not sure. But what's the way it's given, the whole idea behind it is that according to person's inclinations, their the nature that they've been born with, according to their karma, they'll be situated in a role in society that suits them, and they will perform that duty in a selfless spirit. So it will be allotted, whatever it is, that you're a street sweeper, that you're a king, that you're a soldier, that you're a farmer, or whatever it may be. According to the nature, it's not meant to be based on birth, which is how it has developed. It's not meant to be based on bloodline. But if someone is born into a Brahmin family, but they have the nature of a Vaishya, then they should be situated in activities suiting a Vaishya, and vice versa. That's how it is supposed to work. So the idea is that, because the thing is, we can't deny the nature that we have. It may not be an expression of our true eternal nature, but that's what we have on our plate in front of us now. So we don't need to deny that, but rather let that be utilized in such a way that it makes a positive contribution to the environment. And by performing that duty in a spirit of selflessness, then I'll become purified of my material desires, and I'm also, making some positive contribution.
Can I share a story about this?
Sure, yeah.
Because that's something that confused me a little bit. And so when a few years ago, when we were in India with Kieran, my husband, so we went to Varkala in the south, and so I went in the water, and there was a lot of plastic, and so that really annoyed me. So I started picking it up, and so my husband said, "Well, why don't we just clean the beach?" Which ended up turning into a huge project. It took a lot of our holidays. So we organized a day where we gathered people to help. So a long process, but just past this side of the story. And there was an Indian man who was a yoga teacher who would teach yoga to people, like very, very, very Indian. And he said, "Oh yeah, that's a really good idea. well done, and I said, okay, we're doing it on that day, you're going to come and help. I said, yeah, of course, no problem, and all that. You're seeing it coming. And so...
He felt he was too above that.
After the day, we really got our hands dirty, and most of the people who actually helped were Westerners, not Indians.
Yeah.
But some Indians helped, but most of them didn't. But that guy who was like really supportive, really behind it, and also said he was going to come. I saw him and he said, and I said, hey, he didn't come to help us. And he says, oh, this is not my. How did he say that? He says, "Oh, like
Dharma." Did he say?
It's not. No, he said it's not my job to do that. And I don't know about my Westerner's mind, or perhaps not even a Westerner's mind, was like, oh, hang on a minute. On top of that, you're a yoga teacher. Aren't you supposed to help the environment, help people, help the planet? So it didn't sit well with me at all. So I think it's a little bit also what you're saying. Each person has its role, which I can actually really see the benefit from that, because lots of benefits. But in certain contexts, like
absolutely.
This is not my job to do that.
So. I mean, this is actually.
It's easy to judge, though, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's easy for us to judge. We're coming from a very different place. We've got all this egalitarian, Marxist, all the whole thing, this background. You've got to be fair. Everyone has to do that. But we dropped our. We had that same system. If you go back a little way, a few hundred years, 300, 400, 500 years, and then worked really well then. But then people have got criticisms of it then too.
But I guess beyond any...
He's just one individual too, though. You're judging the whole thing.
No, it's not just one individual.
Beyond any politics or any culture, I don't know if, for me, if you're a yoga teacher and,
But what are we discussing here?
If you have a certain devotion, why cannot you pick up a piece of paper that's going to... help our environment.
No reason.
I don't know. I still have.
It's a bit like Gandhi's wife. Remember in the story of Gandhi, his wife wouldn't clean the toilets because she said, "No, that's not my role," and he just said, "Well, hang on, no," and he was trying to change that system, I suppose, where the people wouldn't do anything because they were trained to be beneath them. So he was probably feeling like, no, other class of people do that. So that class thing is really strong in India, isn't it?
I mean, this is part of the corruption of the Varnashram system, because it's not supposed to be like that. And that's actually one reason why, this movement of Krishna consciousness, it really took off in the West, because the Westerners, they're free from this type of prejudice, and they were able to embrace. Because the problem in India is that there's the spiritual teachings, but it's all mixed up in the context of a cultural upbringing and these societal prejudices. So often they're not able to really appreciate the pure spiritual aspect of things. So there's this type of prejudice which can limit them. I mean, for example, I lived in our temple in Bengal for about 10 years. And one thing that our Gurudev really appreciated about the Westerners is that we didn't have any problem, cleaning toilets, cleaning rooms. But even like Indians who had joined the temple and were totally subscribing to the teachings, they had still held some prejudice, we don't do that. That's something. There's a particular class that we would call the sweeper class. It was referred to, who would clean toilets. That was their thing, it was hard for them. I think I only remember one young brahmachari who Indian in the Indian side who became like close. He was a young boy, you know, so he like kind of just connected with some of the Western boys, and he just like kind of embraced everything we were doing, and so he got into that spirit of cleaning and stuff. But otherwise, it was hard for them, you know. I mean, our Gurudev himself, you know, in his younger years, you know, he would do all of that himself. He was completely free from any prejudice like that. And it was one thing that kind of melted his heart about the Westerners, you know, I mean, that's the advantage of growing up in that type of egalitarian society, you know, that when you come to spirituality, you're free from any type of worldly prejudice that can condition your understanding of purely spiritual teachings.
Still. No, but what I see is when the mirror gets turned the other way, right? They look at our society, okay? I can sit here and start to pull our society apart historically in its present mode. And
we're not trying to pick apart the society. We're just discussing a particular point.
Yeah, I know, but everyone picks up on it. I just think it's real easy to slip into that judgmental mode and not see the whole thing. Like, look at our society and look at the way people are treated in our society. You know,
sure. I guess
have been treated.
I guess in this
but
context,
anyway, yeah, no,
if it had been perhaps like what shocked me, I guess it was that the guy was a yoga teacher, and he was making himself a guru, a guide, and all that, and he had all these Westerners following him and all that. I think had it been, I don't know, somebody else who would not have that position, let's say, I would have seen it differently. I would have felt like, yeah, okay, yeah, I get it. They feel it's not their place to do that. But for me, it's because he was in that role that I felt
supposed to be an example.
I felt it doesn't match.
It shows just how deep that conditioning runs. You know, that it can be such a hard thing to dismantle. Even if you're doing strong spiritual work, it can still be present. Maybe like under the level of his awareness.
Yeah, definitely. But I can definitely understand that, you know, each one have their job, and they like, oh no, that's not my job, that's the job of that person. It can also have some great benefits to it, you know, things don't get mixed up, everyone knows where they stand, you know, but it was just that particular context where I was a bit like, aren't you supposed to think a little bit more than the conditioning with your position? But it's my expectation, and yes, perhaps judgment too. Yeah, I get it, I understand. Sorry, just wanted to share that story because you were talking about it.
Yeah, no, I'm happy. I'm happy you did.
And I certainly have my own conditionings too. That, you know, someone could see and go like, "Hey, that doesn't match." Yeah, okay, fair enough. But
it's just perspective.
It was in the context of the caste and all of
Yeah.
that.
I mean, this is what is so beautiful about Vaishnava Dharma, is that it doesn't, it doesn't have any pertinence to the whole social system. Actually, you know, it's very, it's just like purely focusing on the spiritual nature of things, and you know, from that standpoint, we're all in the same place. We are all spirit souls who exist to serve and to love. You know, this is like an essence, and we exist to serve and love our beloved Lord. You know, this is the essence of Vaishnava Dharma. So that's what sets it apart from you know, many of the other traditions that you find that are coming from the Vedic teachings, because it's removed, you know, from all of that. We were discussing this a little Sunday, I think, in Biga, with about Lord Chaitanya. Actually, people confuse him as being like a socialist because he so much rejected all of that. People describe him as a communist. His, this is about 500 years ago in Bengal, when he was spreading the movement of kirtan and spreading the teachings of prema, divine love, and this is a time when India was under Muslim rule, and so there was this like major friction between the Hindus and the Muslims, and traditionally Muslims are seen as being very degraded, by many Hindus, but who Mahaprabhu, Lord Chaitanya, chose as like the head of his kirtan movement, he was a Muslim. Haridas Thakur, he was born in a Muslim family, and he's known as the Namacharya, who was the teacher of the holy name, and he has like a very like important position in Mahaprabhu's mission. So like Mahaprabhu chose him as like the number one distributor of the holy name, and gave him such high honor. I mean, like it was so bad that most of India was under Muslim rule, but then Orissa was maybe the only state, maybe there was another state too, that was still under Hindu rule. So like Muslims were not welcome there. And when Lord Chaitanya, he decided to make Puri in Orissa, his, Jagannath Puri, right, as his like base. And so when he made that announcement, and Haridas Thakur said, like, what am I going to do? I'm not going to be welcome there in Puri. And Mahaprabhu, Lord Chaitanya, he told him, no, don't worry, I'm going to make a special residence for you in an area where you won't be disturbed, you come, and he treated him with the highest respect. So I mean, it was really revolutionary what he did. And then his two main Rup and Sanatan, they were like the two main persons that he empowered to put his teachings into writings. They were actually born in very high Brahmin families, but they'd been recruited by the Muslim government. And so the prejudice was so bad at that time that even if a Muslim would like sprinkle water on you, it would be considered you're contaminated now. Now you're not Hindu anymore. And so that's what it was like, And so Rup and Sanatan, they were these brilliant persons, and they were recruited by the Muslim government to, they had very high positions. One was the prime minister, this one was the finance minister under Nawab Hussain Shah, was his name, the leader. And so because of their close association with the Muslim government, they were rejected by Hindu society. But Lord Chaitanya, embraced them, and he made them like his leaders, actually, of his line. And he would, distribute these teachings to everybody, to women also, to lower caste persons. He had loving exchanges with all of them. So, some people, they'll frame that as being, communist or socialist, but it's actually just a purely spiritual approach. And you're right, Prabhu, not that we need to criticize, particular social, cultural models. They have their place, you're right. They do have their place. But we can also see that there's some gradation here. And what Lord Chaitanya has given, what the Vaishnava Dharma is, it's completely on a spiritual platform. There is no reference point to any identification within this worldly plane. So that's where Lord Chaitanya was coming from, just from a purely spiritual approach. That I'm a spirit soul. We are all spirit souls, and we exist to serve God. So let's exchange on that basis without any reference to our worldly identities. So it is it's something revolutionary. Krishna consciousness in the context of the Vedic teachings, Krishna consciousness is something revolutionary, because it's just based on this most fundamental truth that we exist to serve God. And everything is for that. Even all religion, all religious practices can be rejected for the cause of serving God with love. And who is God? He's a beautiful person. We can have a loving relationship with. So that's what Bhaktivinoda Thakur described as the fourth and highest type of motivation: love. No fear, no desire for personal gain, no duty, but love. So generally in the Vedic teachings, the dharma, artha, kama, moksha, right? These are celebrated as being the four goals of humankind. But Srimad Bhagavatam, which was the concluding text that Vedavyas gave himself after he compiled all the Vedic knowledge, there he announces prema, divine love, to be the fifth and supreme goal of life. And dharma, artha, kama, moksha, these are all pertaining to our identification within this world. What is the use of artha and kama if we've come to the platform of soul? Then it doesn't have any meaning anymore. And what is the use of moksha, liberation, if we've come to the revelation that the real purpose of existence is to have a loving relationship, not to be situated in a particular situation, to a circumstance, being free from the duality of this world. So it's like a PhD theology, you could say. There's religion for persons who are still identifying with this world, but what about religion for the souls who have fully realized their spiritual identity? Then what about them? What is there for them to aspire after? Is it just to be in some, static state of consciousness? Is it just to be free from the negative side? But is there something positive, something dynamic on the eternal side to aspire after? So that is where the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam and the Prema Dharma, they come in.
So my astrology teacher, he studied in India for ages, but he was talking about karma.
Karma or kama?
Karma.
Kama, desire.
No, karma.
Karma.
Okay.
With an Australian accent.
Yeah, karma. And he was just saying, well, forget about doing good deeds and things. This is not how you handle karma. I'm going to do good things and I'll pile up a whole lot of merit. And he said equanimity was the key to karma.
Mm-hmm. You mean what type of karma? Nishkam karma?
All the whole lot. Just how to handle karma, just in your life. He said the best, the real way is with equanimity. That's how you don't get drawn into more karma.
What do you mean by equanimity?
Well, by maintaining
he means
yourself
karma
in
yoga,
a stable,
actually, is what he's talking about.
a stable thing. Well, he's saying, okay, say, there's a period in your life where there's an intense kind of pressure in a way to go this way or do that or jump this way, or you're involved in such and such a situation and you get too far into it with your head and your heart and you go crazy and whatever. You stay even, then you're not going to get pulled into these karmic situations, into the karmic mess, make more of a mess, by being in an equanimity, you're going to stay cooler, you're going to make better decisions, you're not going to be drawn into things, you're not going to... so you're not going to get pulled into more karma, and that's kind of, one of the big things of being in this world, though,
we don't care about karma. Let karma come, let karma go.
Yeah,
probably.
But it can get a lot worse.
But this is karma yoga, what you're describing.
Yeah.
So, this is described in Bhagavad Gita, this is described in the scripture, and it has its place in our daily, it's a helpful teaching, but it's not the line of bhakti yoga, actually. No. The line of bhakti is let karma come as it's supposed to come. I'm trying to dedicate my life for the cause of the Supreme. And actually, by doing that, you're automatically removing yourself from the world of karma anyway. And what will happen is simply that old karma will have to play out. But if one can align themselves with the current of bhakti, with the current of devotion to the Lord, then they're removing themselves from the whole plane of karma anyway. They'll just have to deal.
Yeah.
They'll have to deal with old karma playing out.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's not our focus. Our focus is on trying to satisfy the Lord, trying to awaken the spirit of devotion within our heart.
Sure. And
once that's happened, actually, we won't even be disturbed by whatever we have to deal with in this world. We'll be situated in a higher plane of consciousness.
Then it's probably true equanimity.
Sorry?
Then it's probably true equanimity.
It
spontaneously happens.
Yeah.
It's similar kind of stuff.
Yeah, you're right.
Bhakti, it's taking you into a really good...
It might not be called like that,
good
but
place.
then you naturally come to a state of equanimity.
Yeah, it's true. In regards to what's happening in the plane of mundane duality. Yeah, because you're fixed on this higher thing, so then naturally this state comes about. This is what is so special about bhakti, is that it includes whatever you can attain through the practice of karma yoga, which you're describing, and whatever you can attain through the practice of jnana yoga, the culture of knowledge. You can automatically get it through the practice of bhakti. Those things will, and moksha, all of those things, they'll all come like side effects of the culture of bhakti.
Yeah, I guess he was sort of trying to draw it away from the idea of, because of Western thing, if I'm good, everything will, if I do good deeds,
right.
Sort of a bit of a bent Christian thing, really. It's not really.
That's also a Vedic idea.
It's always there, do good deeds, of course.
There's two types of karma. There's what's called sakam karma, that means karma done with kam, with personal desire, and then there's nishkam karma, which means karma done free from kama, free from personal desire. So what's described in Bhagavad Gita is, we say karma yoga for short, but the full term is nishkam karma. That's what you're describing. So that teaching is very helpful in the context of someone who's in that mentality of sakam karma, of personally motivated action.
I guess he's sort of saying that you won't dent karma by just going and doing something good. It doesn't. It's not kind of listening to that so much. It's you know, it's a larger thing. It's sort of, you know, like, it's that idea of, you know, Gandhi said, once God had made karma, he could just take his hand off the tiller, sort of thing, and just let the universe play out in a sense, you know, and because karma was such an amazing, you know, it's such an amazing kind of a thing, you know, not that that's separate, you know, but yeah, it's profound, you know, but yeah, it is, I guess, getting away from the Western idea of sort of, you know, I'm good, you know, and I do good deeds, so I'm okay, you know, and I'm going to go to heaven and whatever. You know. He's trying to get away from that and say, okay, well, karma's something else, you know, or this, you know, the way the universe really works is, okay, you don't want to get drawn in.
The thing is,
more,
people can get what they want.
Yeah.
If people, you know, want to go to heaven, they can go to heaven and have a good time.
Sure.
I mean, actually, like all the Vedic knowledge is helping people like get what they want, you know. So you know, many persons, it's like they're playing the system, you know. They, you know, many Hindus, they're practicing with that mentality, you know, like they know how the system works. That you have that advantage if you're familiar with the Vedic knowledge. So, you know, if that's what you want, to go to the heavenly planets, then, you know, it's told how you can do that. But then if you realize, oh, that's not actually real happiness, you know, that's just that's a very low kind of happiness. That's pertaining to my temporary existence. You know, real happiness comes from the plane of soul. I want to reach the plane of soul. I want to reach the plane of pure consciousness. Then it's also described how you can do that. But then if there's others who say that's also boring, you know, I want a life of the most intense kind of love, you know, in connection with the most, you know, wonderful, extraordinarily wonderful and loving person. Then for them, they're also told, you know, Srila Sridhar Maharshi, he tells, you know, the word Om, it's the original sound vibration, which is the seed of all Vedic knowledge. And Srila Sridhar Maharshi explains how Om, it means yes. You know, that's what the Vedic knowledge is saying. It's a big yes. You know, what you want, that is possible. You know, what you're seeking after, it is possible. And it's actually, you know, whatever you want. And here's how you can get it.
It's one way to destroy a desire is to get it. And then you're
there
like,
you go.
Well,
yeah, how many times like have you know, we wanted something and then you get it and you're just, it's such a letdown.
Yeah, but then it's gone, so great.
And even if it was wonderful, it's like that, you know, it disappears very quick. Yeah, people need to, like, you know, to play things out, you know, learn things in their own time. And that's the way the whole Vedic system is working. Not to impose anything on anyone, but when they're ready for another level of truth, it's there for them, you know, like in the way that you may raise a child, you know, in a gradual way, in a gentle way.
Can I ask a question? So, what is it that made civilization and like humanity, go downhill? Like, I don't know the names, but I know that we are in Kali Yuga.
Yeah.
So, before, a long time ago.
Yeah.
It was different, you know, as what you described, and when they realized that, oh, we're going downhill, we need to actually put this knowledge into writing and all that. Well, what is it that caused this,
Degradation.
Right?
Well, first of all, we have to understand this in context. That we can conceive of three planes of existence. There's this dynamic material plane, which is basically based on the spirit of exploitation. that our existence depends on, whether we like it or not, our existence depends on the exploitation of others. And it does, if you're eating vegetables, there's soul there, there's consciousness there. When you breathe, you're breathing in organisms. Our existence depends on exploitation. That's just the nature of this world. And then there's like a middle zone of consciousness of pure spirit, what we refer to, you'll be familiar with Brahma, and referred to as Brahma in the Vedas. But then we also recognize there to be a third plane of existence, and this is something which is not so clearly described in the Vedas, except in Srimad Bhagavatam. It is something, mostly the Vedas, they're a little hazy on this point, and they're pointing towards Brahma as the highest thing. However, Srimad Bhagavatam and some other scriptures, they indicate that there is a third plane of existence, and that is a dynamic spiritual world. So you have like a passive, static spiritual zone, but then there's also, as this is a dynamic material plane, so there is a dynamic spiritual plane, and that, diametrically opposite to this world, that is based on the spirit of dedication. As this world is based on the spirit of exploitation, so that plane is based on the spirit of dedication, of giving. So this world, according to our understanding, our line of teachers, this world is like a playground for the souls who want to express their spirit of independence. Souls who had some curiosity or were attracted by the notion of being an independent entity, as opposed to embracing their nature as loving servants of God. So in a sense, like, we want to be God. That's like, whether in a subtle or a gross way, that's like the main problem that we have in this world, actually. It's one person against another person, one country against another country, and so on and so forth. Because we are conceiving of ourselves as being the central entity, the central being. We're conceiving of our own interests at the expense of the interests of so many others. That's the nature of this world. So this is kind of like, we understand that to be like the disease that every soul who enters this world has, that to some degree or another we want to be the center. And so this is like a zone where we can, like, gradually at our own pace become free from that, become cured of that, and be able, when one is at the right level of development, to attain entrance to that positive, dynamic, spiritual world. So by nature, this is an imperfect world, full of imperfect souls, and so this, plane, the universe is in this plane. They're moving in this cycle of these 4 ages: Satya, Treta, Dwapar, and Kali. And as I understand it, it is simply, and so we have to remember that it's a cycle. It's not that, this is the end and it's all over, but it's a cycle. As long as there are souls who need to go through the process of rectification, this plane of existence it will be. So as I understand it, it's by the influence of time, and because at its foundation, it's a world of exploitation. This is how I see it. That degradation is a consequence of the spirit of exploitation, whereas dedication, does the spirit, when the spirit of dedication is pervading, then it has the opposite effect. Things are always becoming brighter and more beautiful. Our Gurudev, he gave a very simple example. If you take one apple and you throw it from here to there, it's going to like squish out, but in that world it will become brighter. So that's how I see it, because of that spirit. Then it's we find that in everything. If you put out some fruit, you put out some milk, within a couple of days it starts to rot, and so in the same way, in the over the ages, everything's diminishing, degrading, until it gets to that point where there needs to be a clean slate and everything's starting again.
And that would be the end of a Kali Yuga. It would be again another Satya.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
How far are we?
A long way to go.
I think we're not very far into it.
But it's like sort of, things can happen that, if you get this hardening, if you like, you just describe it, say, as a hardening. Okay, heaven and earth pull further apart and things kind of get denser and whatever, but there's something that can happen in the human ego and what we are that can't happen before in this mode. Like taking that there's a sense to it all, that in fact something's unfolding, that it's not just like, I make something good and then it just slowly turns into rubbish, It's not like that. It's like, say, to take a more positive view, is sort of, okay, something else is happening. I don't understand it, but okay, something can happen in what we are and how we're developing and what sort of we need to go through in order for something to take place within us and within our kind of human spirit, body, whatever.
And we can also add,
it can only happen like this,
We can also add that, we are all individuals, and it may not be that collectively we're all, going through to the end of Kali Yuga, but actually this whole universe is described as, there's one description, it's like one tiny mustard seed in a great bag of mustard seed. So there's this universe which is at a particular stage in the cycle, but there's infinite other numbers of universes, and they're all at different stages in their development. So the way that I understand it is that it's according to an individual's karma and necessity that they'll be placed in a particular age, at a particular time in a particular universe. So I don't think necessarily, at the end of this life, then you'll continue within this universe and so on, and you'll keep cycling. I think it is different, for different souls. However, we can also mention that actually Kali Yuga it's considered to be a very favorable time from a spiritual side of things, because as we mentioned, this is from our perspective, from our tradition, where we're coming from. The Vedas, they're mostly giving a hazy idea as to what is the final goal. What is the beyond? They're mostly giving a hazy idea of that, and it is in this age of Kali Yuga, and through Srimad Bhagavatam, and also particularly through the movement of Lord Chaitanya, that it's been made very clear that there is a third plane of existence. There is a positive, dynamic plane of existence. And we have some prospect there. The conception of a personal entity of divinity. That we can have a loving relationship with Him. That is something that has been widely announced in this age. And also, the practice of kirtan is that I don't know how familiar you are with the different yuga dharmas, if you know that term, but there's many different practices which are described in the Vedas, but there are also particular practices which are described as being the most suitable, or not just the most suitable, but they're given as like the prescribed dharma for this age. Like according to the nature of these people, we're considering this is the best dharma. So like yoga and meditation, they were the yuga dharma for Satya Yuga. People could actually do it then, in a much more developed way. I mean, for years at a time, without needing to, no dependency on food and all these things. It's said in Satya Yuga, persons could maintain their life air as long as their bones were intact. So, for ages and ages of time, they could sit in meditation. But and then in another one of the yugas, I think Treta, it said that as long as the nervous system was intact, you could maintain your life air. But in Kali Yuga, it's food. Our life depends on food. And so we experience every few hours, in general, there are some exceptions, but in general, we're very dependent on food, So what I'm saying is like all of these elaborate and difficult Vedic practices, we're not really suited to them, And so for that reason, the practice of kirtan has been prescribed as the yuga dharma. And kirtan, which is like the easiest thing, So there's one verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, Kaler dosha nide rajan yasti heko mahaguna kirtanadeva krishnasya bhukta sangha parambrajat, that this age of Kali, it is like an ocean of faults. There's so many things wrong with this era. However, at the same time, it has one very great, very mahanguna, very great quality, that kirtanadeva krishnasya mukta sangha paramraja. Just through this simple practice of kirtan, and in particular Krishna kirtan, one can attain both freedom from their entanglement in this world, and they can attain the highest goal of life, the highest destination. Just, kirtan, which you don't have to take a bath. It doesn't have to be join the Brahma Muhurta. You don't have to be dressed in a particular, you don't need to be facing a particular direction. You don't need to have some paraphernalia, special wood and so many special ingredients, but anytime, anywhere, whoever you are, whatever you are, you can do kirtan. So from that consideration, Kali Yuga is actually considered to be a very favorable time. And also this and these things, they really make you realize, how we don't want to waste our time, But this particular, because it's described, there's 14 within each Brahmanda, which means like a universe, we could say, for lack of a better word. There's 14 planes of existence. So there's 7 lower, which are more hellish, grosser planes, and then there's 7 upper. And this plane is called Borlok, and it's the lowest of these 7 upper. And it is in this particular plane of existence is described as like the door, like to get out of the whole fishbowl of material existence.
So would that be related to the chakras at all, like as levels? So if
are there 14?
There's said to be 7 below, and then our 7, which we're in a physical body. So it could be that there's some relationship there. Okay, yeah. And as your consciousness rises,
right? Yeah, I don't know about the chakras, but it sounds like it. Yeah. But remember, these 14 planes, they're all within the material zone. You can go to higher planes, which are much more subtle, much more attractive, much more enjoyable, but they're still within this, this whole temporary, maybe they'll live for thousands of years in those higher planes, but they still have a lifespan. So it's still within this whole temporary plane of existence. So, but this plane, it's like this middle zone that we're in, called Borlok, and it's described as being the door. Like, this is where you can get out of the whole thing. And it's also, it's very helpful. The environment is helpful because there's more or less there's some experience more on one side than the other, but on the whole it's a plane that's like equally mixed with pleasure and suffering. Whereas if you go to lower planes, there's a greater degree of suffering, and which makes it more difficult to practice spiritual life. And then if you go to higher planes, there's greater degree of enjoyment, more subtle attractions, and so it also is difficult. But here, this like type of duality that we face, it's very conducive, to spiritual culture. So like this time and place is actually considered to be, it's like an opportunity, for spiritual culture.
Can I ask a question as well? When you talk about devotion to God, and it's in the Bhagavan form,
yes,
it's a personal God.
Yes.
Is that guru? Is that always guru, or can it take? Is that how we can understand Bhagavan? Is only guru, because we don't have Krishna or Chaitanya or anyone else here. I mean, we have them as a kind of a concept.
Yeah.
But that's hard to connect to.
Yeah. So
does it need to be guru, or is it in any form that we can have a sense of God? Does it need to come in person form? And then is guru, is it? It needs to be guru who is perfect. I guess that the name guru is only left for those people who are, but there needs to be full trust in that.
Yeah.
Otherwise it doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, really, really good, really nice questions. So in regards to the first question, there will be gradual development, and there will be an individual connection with Krishna, with God, that is developing. We put focus on Guru because Guru is here before us, and also it is told that Krishna will reveal himself through Guru. So see, there's different angles of vision. There's one angle of seeing Guru as non-different from Krishna. That's one perspective. And Krishna himself, he states, Acharya mam vijaniyam, that know me to be the Guru, know me to be the Acharya. I'm non-different. But another, more like refined vision, is that my Guru is a very beloved servitor of Krishna. And my Guru is connecting me with Krishna and engaging me in the service of Krishna. There's a very nice analogy that's given in the scriptures, and our Gurudev used this for the logo of our temple, which shows a lotus flower in a river being illuminated by the sun. And this analogy is depicting the lotus as the disciple, and that disciple is and the sun is representing Krishna. And so the light, the Krishna sun is giving nourishment to that practitioner, but in the shelter of the water of Guru. Without the connection of the Guru, the disciple will be burnt. So the one way that the Guru is described is as the Ashaya Vigraha, which means that person whom we take shelter of. And in their shelter, under their care, we're able to develop a relationship with Krishna. And it will be something that will develop, over time, through the continual practice of Shravan and Kirtan in particular, hearing and chanting, then some relationship is developing. But it's something that will naturally and gradually develop. It may exist now as a concept, but at a certain point it will develop into something else, and it is something that we'll just let naturally, come and grow. Does that answer your first question?
Yeah.
Something, not completely. Yeah, I mean it's a difficult subject. Well, I'll go to the next one, and I'll think if any other points come to mind. So about Guru, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he gave a very nice analogy about this. That there are, as I can recall, it's published in. You should read that book, Sri Guru and His Grace. It's online, or maybe you have an extra copy. Okay. But there, Srila Sridhar Maharaj gives a very nice analogy that there are three kinds of gurus. That there's the highest type of guru. He has both of his feet in the spiritual world. He's a fully, perfect, nitya siddha, eternally perfect soul. And from there, he's reaching down and taking the souls of this world, trying to lift them up. Then lowest class, first or third class guru, both of their feet are here in this world. They still have their material imperfections. However, they are very firm in their intention. That maybe they have their imperfections, but their intention is to proceed to that higher plane. Like that old karma, old tendencies is still playing out, but they're fixed in their resolve in making spiritual progress. So they're also qualified to connect souls, to help, to lift souls to that higher plane. And then middle class is one who has one foot here and one foot in that higher plane. They're in a more of a developed place and more fixed in their resolve, but they will still have some imperfections. So Srila Sridhar Maharaj gives some analogy along those lines. So, but the main idea is that there are different types of gurus, and it will be very rare that there will be a guru who's, fully perfect, fully self-realized, what we will call nitya siddha, one who has actually descended from that higher plane. They're not a member of this world, actually, but they've come from that higher world just for this purpose of helping souls. That will be very rare to find a guru like that. But then there are others who they may be like, a little more like us, but they have, they have a greater degree of realization. They've made some progress, some development as a result of their practice, and the main point that their sincerity is authentic. Their intention is clean. Then they're also qualified to connect souls. So that what you have to assess is what type of intention they have. What is there's one really nice line in Srila Sridhar Maharaj, maybe it's also in Sri Guru and His Grace, that he says he's speaking, I think, more generally about, or maybe he's speaking about Guru, someone who takes the role, I don't remember. But this very nice phrase, he says that one's capacity will not be so much considered, as much as one's purity of purpose. One's purity of purpose. So, there may, conversely, there may be someone who's acting as guru who has very great capacity. They can do many things and maybe can talk many things, but that inner purity is absent. So, better somebody who may be lacking in some capacity, but their purity of purpose is strong. And through that, more capacity may be extended to them. So, so what will you look for in a guru? Someone who's, first of all, they have to be connected, because, there's lots of nice people, but somebody who is connected to a genuine line of truth. What are they representing, and what are they following? What is their conception? That's the first thing. And then what is their own where are they? What is their intention? Are they themselves genuinely practicing a spiritual life? Maybe they still have some imperfections, but they are sincerely striving for the real thing. And it's a very tricky thing, because the position of guru, it's full of so many pitfalls, because people can start out full of good intentions, but and that's why we don't want to point the finger at those who we've seen have become degraded, because it's full of so many temptations, and all of one's weaknesses become exposed. So all that power is there. So it's we want to have some compassion. That they're human. So it's a tricky thing, and then persons face the very. I can't conceive of anything being more devastating than to face the situation where one's guru has strayed from the path. I really can't think of anything worse than that. So then, those disciples have to deal with that. It's the most terrible thing. So, one can only do their best to, when they're making that decision, to do their best to assess that this is the genuine article or not, at least at this moment in time, it appears. And can also pray to God for that. It is said in the scripture that the Lord will give us guru, and guru will give us the Lord. This all goes back a little to your first question too, that there is this relationship there. Krishna can give us guru. We can pray to Krishna to lead us to the guru who can connect us with him.
So the guru is always kind of the connector, like the person to hold your hand on the path to ultimately find Krishna. It's not that, although that you said that Guru and Krishna are one. So
that's one angle of vision.
Right. So that kind of would be a personal inclination, whether it's through Guru completely or that Guru is a pathway.
Well, there's different levels of realization, and what we can say is that ultimately, in our line, the understanding is that actually the highest and most desirable thing is to be serving Krishna, but more focused on that person who is giving us shelter, the Ashaya Vigraha. So we will be serving Krishna, but in the care, in the shelter of a particular, superior servitor. And actually, our focus will be more on that person. So on the highest level, that's Radharani, the Srimati Radharani, the supreme, divine feminine principle. She is guru in the highest sense. She is guru. She's the guru of our whole line. You see, guru is a very broad conception. And it's Gurudev mentioned it's a Western issue. There's more of a limited understanding of who is guru. But in India, in the Vedas, it's a very broad thing. So guru in the highest sense means Radharani, because she is the supreme servitor of Krishna, and it is under her that everyone else is offering their service. So in the highest, what we consider to be the highest attainment is to be serving Krishna in the group of Radharani, and more specifically under Lalita, who is the number one right hand of Radharani, and more specifically in the group of Rupa Manjari. So and then one may have some particular serving agent who is like in a more particular way even engaging them. So one may see all of them as guru. In the broadest sense, we can see guru as anyone, as Srila Sridhar Maharaj says in one place, who's untying the knots of our mundane misconception. Anyone who can do that for us is guru.
So guru moves around in different forms.
Guru means Krishna trying to connect with us. So, what was I going to say?
No, sorry.
No problem. I can't remember. But there's a really nice, I think we read it the other day in Shri Guru and His Grace about Guru. I can't remember what I was going to say. Oh yes, important point. There are two main types of guru. There's the in our present situation, there's the Diksha Guru, the Guru who gives us the formal connection, and then there's the Shiksha Guru, and Shiksha means instruction, so it means the instructing Guru. So we can conceive of these two types of gurus in the context of our present practice. There's the guru who's like connecting us to the line of truth, and then in a broader sense, the shiksha guru is anyone who is helping us develop our understanding and our connection. So one may have many shiksha gurus, actually, and in our line there's more emphasis put on the shiksha guru, and there are some examples given of persons who took their diksha initiation in another line, another Vaishnava line, but then later they came to the line of Mahaprabhu, of Lord Chaitanya, and felt, oh, this is something higher here. I want to take shelter of those who are following this path. And so then they took shiksha, they took instruction from qualified persons in this line. So you'll see, and you should definitely read that book, Shri Guru and His Grace. In there, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he gives a list of our line of gurus, and it's very interesting because there are some persons who, well, not some, but many who have been not included there, who formally took initiation in the line, because it's not considered that they gave like a major contribution. But then on the other hand, there are persons who took initiation in another line, but they've been included in our line of gurus. Because in terms of their like inner appreciation and heart, and in terms of what contribution they made in terms of the teachings, you know, we will consider them to be an important, you know, guru in this line. So that, you know, that heart, you know, connection, that's given, you know, primary.
When I took initiation with Govind Maharaj, I sort of said to him, I've already got a guru, you know, and it's not done to have two, you know. And he said, no, that's okay. He says, Satyananda is your Diksha Guru, I am your Shiksha Guru. And that was it. But he still gave me beads and initiation.
But yeah, I think if you go through that book, I think it will help to answer your questions.
I feel a lot clearer around it.
Okay.
As a little kid, I grew up Christian, and I could never just have faith without, I don't know, I couldn't get my head around the concept of God, but I wanted it, and I used to pray to show me how to have faith as like a really little kid, and I feel like that's how I ended up on this path, because it was like, oh, this isn't your path. Christianity isn't your path to feel or experience God or to know God. Here's another one. And so I feel like that prayer was like Krishna is trying to find a way of finding me. Yeah.
Yes.
It's interesting,
Yeah. The heart receives a revelation when it is anxious for it. The very beautiful line of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. This is how it works. You know, when whereas it's in the Bible, you know, knock and the door will open. You know, if anyone makes that sincere approach, you know, then the response will come from the other side. And that comes, you know, through Guru, actually. There's also like what's described as Vartma Pradarshak Guru, means the Guru who points you in the right direction. There's also that kind of Guru. Like there's a story, and now we're kind of like going on a tangent, but it's such a cool story. But Bilva Mangal Thakur, he's one of the great Vaishnava saints in our line. In his early life, he was a just very, you know, materialistic person, and there was a prostitute who he used to visit all the time, and her name was Chintamani, and one night there was a terrible storm, and you know, thunder and lightning, and he would go like every night or something to her house, and even though there was all these obstacles, he was determined, you know. So he went out like in this dangerous weather, and she wasn't expecting anyone, so she was all locked up, and he had to like climb over a wall, and then he's like there on her doorstep, like in this state, and he knocks, and she's like astonished, and so she said to him, you know, my goodness, if you had a little bit of this kind of devotion for God, you would be such a great saint. So this was like an epiphany for him, this statement of hers, and he completely changed the whole course of his life, and he ended up becoming a very great devotee of Krishna. He's written wonderful books, but he has some prayers, and he actually has a verse, a prayer dedicated to her. He describes her as one of his gurus, because, you know, she's a prostitute, but because she inspired him to take up the path. So that's like an example of a Vartma Pradarsha guru, someone who points you in the direction, you know. So like I think of my mother like that. Like she connected me with my Gurudev and connected me with the path, like set me off in the right way. you know. So there may be many people like that, you know, who like, you know, help. Maybe Jesus, you know, he.
I think Jesus is my first guru.
There were many devotees who told me that they prayed to Jesus.
Me too.
And Jesus gave them this, you know, and they feel like he showed this to them. You know? Like, this isn't enough for me. Like, I'm sorry, you know. You know, there must be something more developed. Can you help me? You know.
I don't think when I used to pray, I don't think I even had the awareness of that. But I used to pray. You know, I used to pray to have that connection.
Right.
So yeah. So you know, I wasn't.
But some persons,
really
it was like
else,
it was like that.
Obviously, it needed something else.
Like Bimala, she's an amazing, sweet Brazilian devotee, and I think she grew up Catholic, but Christian in any case. But she said she felt that, like, there's something missing here, you know. And she prayed to Jesus like that, like please, like, give me something more. I need something more.
What's interesting from what you were saying, if like Radharani is the topmost guru, like how then is the rest of the lineage? Well, I guess not, Mahaprabhu really wasn't, was he? The lineage is very male, like until now, when there's some 3 female devotees, like 3 female initiates. Why would that be?
3
female sannyasis in this lineage? Like like it seems like, well, like if there was topmost guru is Radharani, what's happened in between? You know, I mean, just looking at male, female, but like it's almost like, have they been in disguise or something? Like it's almost like the female element has been, it's there so strongly, but it's sort of hidden, isn't it, in that line?
Well, I mean, I don't think that the line of approach of identifying with the female of this world, I don't think that's helpful for us. Because, you know, the female body, you know, of course, from one angle of vision, you know, we can appreciate that as being representative of the divinity, but in a deeper sense, you know, male, female of this world.
It's more from the side thing of that thing with guru, you know, like in traditions. I mean, this is coming from another tradition, not really about this tradition here, but like there's so much that male female, you know, women with male gurus, and this can be that sort of trickiness goes on, you know, and it's difficult, you know. So it's like, it's so nice to have women, you know. Like for a woman to have a woman as a teacher, there's less of that chance of, you know, that trust can be stronger, you know.
Women are more like gurus, you know.
Yeah, I mean that's something Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he actually spoke of. I mean, actually, like what's going on now is like very, very new. You know, we were discussing. I mean, just the fact that like Diksha is being given to non-Brahmins, that's already revolutionary. You know, that Diksha's, you know, what to speak of non-Brahmins, but Diksha's being given to Mlechas, to Westerners, that's revolutionary. And then that Diksha's being given to females. Like, there's so many levels here of like revolutionary stuff going on. It's just like in the last 50, 100 years. So, you know, one step at a time.
More movement coming.
I mean, Srila Maharaj, he actually, I mean, he spoke about that and how he thought it was there's a recording where he says he thinks it's good, you know, that happens. But I mean, there have been female gurus in this line, you know. Nityananda Prabhu's, in particular, Nityananda Prabhu's consort, Janava Devi, she was like, after Mahaprabhu left, she was the number 1 in the line, the Sampradaya. And she was a great guru. She had many disciples, male disciples. So there are some examples. And
is there writing about that? Is that written about somewhere?
Definitely. I mean, definitely about. I'm not so familiar with the history, but about Janava Devi, definitely. She's very well known and very highly revered. Yeah. So there is some precedent, and it will be something that you know, naturally developed. You know, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he there's one recording where he talks about it, and he says it will be a controversial thing, but I think that it will be good. And he said, especially for the ladies, for the nourishment of their faith, that there can be, females acting as guru. And he quotes this verse, Kiba Vipra, Kiba Nyasi, Shudra Kenenoi, Jai Krishna Tattva Veta, Say Guru Hoy, saying that it doesn't matter what whether you're Brahmin or whether you're Shudra, the lowest caste, it doesn't matter, but one who knows the science of Krishna, they can be guru. One who has that level of qualification, irrespective of their material position, they can act as guru. And so on the basis of that, he said, yes, ladies, they... And in that recording, Gurudev's in the background, and he's also like chiming in, like yes, like that. So that will happen. Yeah. In due course of time.
I mean, I was just wondering, because Mahaprabhu was like, the female Radharani, taking that form of Radharani's devotion to Krishna. So, in a way, it's almost like, and you feel that around Gurudev, they have that very feminine, they have that quality of that very feminine sort of soft, loving devotion. So, I mean, they're not the usual, yeah, it's just, you can feel that feminine quality there, that devotional, loving, yeah.
Another point is that it's understood that actually all souls are female, in the sense that they are Shakti. Yeah, that really female means the serving mood, the expression of dedication. That's actually what female means. So this is one very broad way that our gurus have described. And in that sense, Krishna is the only male. He's the Purusha. He's the enjoyer. Male means to enjoy, to exploit. Female means to sacrifice, to serve. So in this very broad sense, all souls can be considered female. Even in the spiritual world, they may take on male bodies, but in one sense, they are female, in the sense that they are Shakti, they are serving potency. So that's another angle of vision.
Makes sense. Nandini has started this beautiful work. She has a Shakti temple. She's work with women, so she's really does lots of stuff to encourage women's spirituality and getting together, and just really just initiated it in the last year, really, isn't it?
It was a long time coming, I think. It took birth. Well, actually, it's 4 months ago.
She's given birth to it.
Lalita is a teacher there. In the Satyananda tradition.
Well, must be getting late. I'm sure you all have things to do. It's 11:15.
Wow.
I gotta go.
You've got to reach, haven't you?
Thank you.
Thanks to all of you. It's been a really nice gathering. Thank you for coming and giving your wonderful company.
Thank you so much.
Jai Shri Bhakti Sundar Govindadev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai, Shri Bhakti Lakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami ki Jai, Shri Shri Guru Varanga Gandharva Govinda Sundar Ji ki Jai, all the assembled devotees ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai, Jai Gaur Premanandi.